Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
All of our guests today brought to you by one of Victoria's favorite pubs, the favorite pub, the Waddling Dog. And that includes from Hockey Night in Canada, the 32 Thoughts podcast, Elliotte Friedman. You okay?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Elliotte joins us now. Elliotte, thanks for doing this, sir. How are you?
How's my hair look today?
Excellent.
Looks like
the wind is helping.
Looks like a hurricane in Toronto.
I'm not criticizing anybody with hair. We went through this a couple of segments ago. It looks just fine. Yeah. Looks fine. Okay. 32 Thoughts podcast. We ran a clip in our first segment, Elliotte. You're of the belief Elias Pettersson needs to shut out the noise in the hot Vancouver market. What do you think the best way to go about that is?
I think you just have to, it's no different than what we go through, guys, even as media members. Like it used to be when you were a player, you had, if you made a bad play, you had, 16, 17,000 people in the arena boo you. And, nobody else really had to deal with that. It was athletes who had to deal with that the most. Now everybody has to deal with it, right? Like if people don't I had a take on the pod yesterday that I think Tom Wilson's going to make Team Canada. That didn't go over very well either.
Wow.
But you just sit back and you kind of just, hey, in this whole social media world, everyone's going to have their opinions. They're not always going to agree with you. They're not always going to like you. You just can't react to all that. It's too much. And the thing is, I think Quinn Hughes, a lot of that comes kind of naturally to him. But I look at a few other members of your Canucks team. Like I think JT Miller, I think Brock Boeser are guys who kind of gone through it and have learned how to manage it. And I think they do. Like I look at the videos, for example, that JT Miller's family sends out. I just look at how much Boeser has improved as a player. And I think you learn how to manage it. One of the things I do, for example, guys, is I limit whose opinion really matters to me. Yeah. Like my wife's opinion matters to me because I don't want to get divorced. My employer's opinion matters to me because I don't want to get fired. My coworkers' opinions really matter to me because I really like them and I find they're very honest with me. And I have a group of friends whose opinion matters to me because they're also very honest with me. And sometimes some of the people you deal with too, you obviously, when you're dealing with them, you listen to what they have to say. But other than that, you really have to be judicious with it. You can't be afraid of constructive criticism. You can't cower in the corner when people get upset at you. But you have to shut out the noise. You have to cut it down and really say, this is what matters to me and this is what doesn't. And, I think Pettersson's a guy who's still going through that process. I think he wants to do, first of all, he wants to do very well. He wants to do very well. I think he takes a lot of pride in what he does. And I think he wants to be very successful for the Vancouver Canucks. But I think he's on that path to learning how to shut out the noise. And I think the sooner he gets there, I think he'll be better off. Like I know not everybody's thrilled with Aaron Rodgers, but that quote we included where he said, don't accept any criticism from anyone you wouldn't ask for advice. I think that is a dynamite quote and one that everybody could listen to.
Where does Elias Pettersson go, if anywhere, to get help? Is it all on him? Does the team need to step in? His agent? Where does he go?
Well, first of all, I'm a kind of guy, I don't like to ask for help. Like everyone's different. Like I don't like to ask for help from people. I like to try to, whenever I go through crazy stuff, I try to sort it out on my own. But there are times occasionally I'll ask someone, or I think a lot of the time other people really see you're struggling and they can come forward. I think some of it has to be like the teammates. Sure, the agent has to be involved and sure the organization has to be on top of things. But, I do believe that, number one, it has to be yourself to some degree. But number two, I think the people who are around you the most on a daily basis, those are the people who can tell. And look, I think that, like I said, too, I think he's got a bit of a different personality, which is totally fine. The world would be absolutely boring if everybody had the same personality. And secondly, I don't think teams would be as successful if everybody had the same personality. You're always going to have a different mix. And so I think you both have to respect the difference of his personality and also say, hey, like this, like when you need it, or if we sense you need it, this is how we're going to get you to where you need to go.
Well, Elliotte, he was in a contract year last year, Pettersson, and in the exact same boat this year as Brock Boeser. What do you see happening there? He's off to a good start. He's kind of picking up where he left off last year, 40 goals, 7 in the playoffs. If he keeps producing, they didn't talk to him in the summer about a contract, Elliotte. Obviously, they made contact, but what do you see happening with Boeser?
Well, first of all, I think it goes to what we were just talking about, Rick. Like, you guys know, and the Canucks fans, like, you guys have seen Boeser grow from boy into man, right? You see him go up and down and have enormous challenges off the ice too, which everybody is well aware of. And I'm really impressed with him. I think just as a human being, I think he's come a long way, and I think he's a very impressive guy. There's only one way to handle this. At the beginning of the year, when your organization says to you, you know, we'd like to wait and see, you can either curl up into the fetal position in a corner, or you can go out and say, I'm going to embrace this. And the only right answer is to say, I'm going to embrace this, and I'm going to show them that they made a mistake by not doing it sooner. And he's off to a great start with that. Like, I think the Vancouver Canucks have a pretty good idea of exactly what it's going to cost them to keep Brock Boeser after a great season. I think they feel he wants to stay. I think they're happy to have him. I think they wanted to challenge him a little bit, but I find it very hard to believe that they didn't have a really good idea of what a Boeser number would look like if he had a good season. And there's still a lot of runway here, and there's still time. And the other thing, too, is, like, I always look at past behavior. The Vancouver Canucks have a way of going quiet. Like, look at JT Miller. Yeah. That one was dormant. And then it got done in like 3 days, right?
Yep.
Pettersson, that one was dormant, and then it got done in like 3-4 days, right? So what it says to me, and also look too, like he's represented by Ben Hankinson. Ben Hankinson just did a deal with Dallas where after Swayman signed, they went to Ottinger, they came up with that number, and they both said, we're going to do this quick or we're not going to do it at all, and it got done. So what it says to me is that you've got two sides here that once they put their minds to it, if they want to get something done, they can get something done.
Elliotte, everyone's talking about the Flames start, but the one team that's caught my attention is Winnipeg, 5-0. I mean, yeah. I don't think anybody expected the Winnipeg Jets to win their first 5 games.
I agree with you in that sense. I mean, there's always somebody that gets out to the best start. At the beginning of the year, Rick, I predicted that I thought Winnipeg would make the playoffs, and a lot of people disagreed with me. And I like to brag about the predictions that look like they're going to go right, because I have so many of them that look like they're going to go so wrong. But I think Hellebuck, I think he's a stud. There are very few A-level stud goalies in the NHL now, and I think he's one of them. I think they have a really good core of players. Now, do they have some holes I think they want to fix, maybe on the blue line, maybe second line center. But I think they have a good core of players. I really love that Adam Lowry line. I think it's got a big identity for that team. And I think when you have that kind of stud in goal, it erases a lot of your mistakes. So did I think they'd be 5-0? No. But was I comfortable that they would be a good team? Yes, I was.
And Elliotte, quickly, this is the focus of our poll question today. Oliver Ekman-Larsson, did you see his resurgence coming first in Florida, but especially this year, at least so far, with the Leafs leading them in ice time? He hit somebody yesterday. He got a fine.
Sure did.
Did you see that coming?
I'll say this. When they signed him, Donnie, I said that people are going to look at him differently because there's no longer an 8 next to his name, right?
Right.
Like the moment he wasn't, and it happened last year too. The moment his salary wasn't in the 8s, everybody looked at him differently, because you look at his number now and you say, boy, for Oliver Ekman-Larsson, that's a really good number. Like the contract they signed him to, that's a really good contract for Ekman-Larsson. So I think when you're a lot of the times now, and that's what happens in a cap world, people make their opinions on you based on what the number is next to your name. And people look at him very differently now that it's like a 3 instead of or a 4 or whatever it is, instead of an 8. The second thing is, I was talking with Matt Sundin yesterday, and he said that Ekman Larson will be a completely different guy now he's won the Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
And he said that when you win, it brings a calm over you, like you've accomplished something. And I think between the lower number and the cup, like he could have easily, he didn't have to go to Toronto. He could have gone a lot of places, would have been a lot quieter. And he took it. So that says to me, just different world for him now.
What would Sundin know about winning the cup?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I hope he comes into your studio. He'll turn you into like.
That's not going to happen.
He'll turn you into mutton chops there, buddy.
All right. Come on. It was sitting there on a tee, Elliotte. I had to take a swing.
I know.
All right.
I know. I was like, okay, this could end up very badly for me.
Yeah, former Canuck, Matt Sundin. The hair's looking good.
Buy some gel. Buy some gel.
We'll talk to you in a couple of weeks.
You know what? Inflation, Rick. Gel's too expensive.
$4.
Thanks, Elliotte.
Take care, guys.
I appreciate it.